Welcome to Grace Kennedy's Investor Briefing. My name is Don Webby, and I'm the Group Chief Executive Officer. With me is Mr. Andrew Mesado, our Group Chief Financial Officer. We welcome all participants who have joined us via internet for this briefing. The briefing has been scheduled to run for 40 minutes. We'll use 25 to 30 minutes of this time for presentations by Andrew and myself. And the remaining time, we will answer your questions. And I know there are a lot of questions out there based on our previous investors briefing. So welcome again, everyone. During the question and answer session, you are welcome to share your questions by emailing us at gkinvestor@gkco.com. And repeat that, you can email your questions to gkinvestor@gkco.com. You may also call or send a text to our communications team at 876-809-1121. That is 809-1121. Or 876-809-0464. Let me repeat the numbers again. 876-809-1121 or 876-809-0464. So good afternoon again, everyone, and I'm really happy that you are with us this afternoon for us to share our 9 months results. What I'll do, I will make a brief presentation followed by Andrew, and then we will have questions. My presentation and Andrew's presentation will be in the form of a PowerPoint presentation. So let us go. All right, I think it's appropriate, colleagues, for me to start off the presentation, just speaking a little bit about COVID-19 and GK response to COVID-19. But as I reflected on the presentation, and the last time we actually presented Andrew, as we speak, well, November 15th, we had over 9,000 cases in Jamaica. As the last time we presented, I think it was March 31st or shortly after, there are only 38 cases. I think that says to all of us how the world has changed, and it has impacted Jamaica in terms of the number of cases, over 9,900 in terms of an increase. So the question has been asked by investors and others: how has Grace Kennedy coped with the COVID-19 cases? And let me share with you, we have a business continuity plan at Grace Kennedy, and when we heard about the first case in China, we immediately activated our business continuity plan on January 29th. When we realized that the situation was getting pretty serious on March 3rd, we established a steering committee right across the group to see how best to navigate through this crisis. The first thing that we said, colleagues, is that the safety and well-being of our staff is the most important action that we can take. So as we speak, 60% of our staff is currently working from home. And in fact, that figure would be significantly higher. But as you recognize, Grace Kennedy, we have 6 manufacturing plants. And so we have staff there working, and we also have our high-low supermarkets where we have staff working there, and our GKRS retail business. But the most important thing I'd say again, the safety and well-being of our staff was the most important action that we could take. The second thing is in terms of our customers and consumers, we wanted to ensure that we have an adequate supply chain primarily of our food stuff. So on every Monday morning, we have a meeting, and Zach Mars, who is the head of procurement in the GraceKennedy Food Division, really reports to us as an executive leadership team on how we are doing in terms of ensuring that our products are well supplied and in inventory. And I must say, Zach has been doing an excellent job in terms of keeping our consumers and our customers supplied with the Grace products and the Grace own brand products and other principles that we represent. We also ensure that, as I said, cash is king, Andrew.
Yes.
Profit is an opinion. Cash is a fact. We ensure that our liquidity is being managed very carefully. And Andrew will speak to that in terms of the success that we have had in terms of generation of cash in the GraceKennedy Group. We focus a lot on our margins to ensure that our GP, our gross profits, are maintained or even improved. We watched our cost containment and cost reduction very carefully. One of the things that I'm extremely proud of is that we have not laid off any staff in the GraceKennedy Group of companies. And it is our intention that that is going to be a last resort in terms of any sort of a layoff for the GraceKennedy staff. We have a very loyal, a very dedicated, very committed team at GraceKennedy, and I want to use this opportunity to really thank them wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart in terms of navigating us through this difficult period, not only in Jamaica, but in the world. So as part of our cost reduction exercise, we have not laid off, and there are no plans in terms of laying off any of our staff as we move forward. Then, as we always say, identifying opportunities in the crisis, and I will be highlighting a few during my presentation, and also giving back to our communities. I have a slide especially dedicated to how we gave back to our communities, and we continue to do so. So I think, all in all, colleagues, we have done a pretty good job in terms of managing COVID-19 as a group of companies, and we continue to be very detailed, very focused as we navigate our way through this horrible pandemic. Let us now look at, from a financial point of view, of how we performed. As you can see, the GraceKennedy Group for the 9-month period and the third quarter performed exceptionally well. In fact, if you look at the third quarter results, where we reported revenues of $29.6 billion, that is actually the best performing quarter for the group for 2020, and that represented a $4.1 billion increase. If you look at the year-to-date, where we continue to perform well, and the momentum is there for the group, where we reported revenues of $86.1 billion, an increase of $9.1 billion, or 11.8%. You recall last year, we challenged ourselves as an executive team, Andrew, to report revenues of over $100 billion. And we were happy to announce to our shareholders in 2019 at our AGM that our audited accounts showed revenues of $103.1 billion. But I'm going to make another bold statement today that our revenues will in fact again surpass $100 billion and will in fact surpass $103.1 billion. Of note also that revenue growth across all business segments. Every business segment in the GraceKennedy Group showed improved performance. And I'd like to again congratulate the GK team for this brilliant performance. In terms of profit before tax, slides would come up again. The revenues that we generated is flowing to the bottom line. We had a fantastic third quarter, increases in profits of 48.8%, representing profits of 2.8 billion for the third quarter. But if you look at the year-to-date performance, our PBT has increased by 51.5%, or $2.5 billion. This is another metric that I'm very proud of, where our September year-to-date profit before other income increased by 77.8%, or $2.2 billion. So the company continue to perform well in terms of profit before tax. And the slide that I shared with you in terms of COVID-19 basically share a number of the reasons why we have been reporting good profits. Profit after tax up 32% here, and 1.2 billion increase, $4.9 billion. Andrew, let me try and go back to the other slide. I want to make a point here. All right, so our profit before tax, as shown here, is $7.3 billion. Colleagues, this is more than reported for our full year for last year. So in September, we have made more profits than we made for the whole of 2019. Last year, reported PBT for the full year audited accounts of 6.1. And at this stage, we are at 7.3 billion. So, you know, we are really pleased with our performance. Profit after tax, as I said, 4.9 billion. There's a provision in the tax line for Guyana, which we have in our notes, and we did report to our shareholders for the half-year results. And I'd ask Andrew Mesado to expand on it. So we have been performing well financially, and I expect that the good performance for 2020, for the 9 months, will continue for the rest of the year and into 2021. Here are some business highlights that I'd like to share with you this afternoon. You recall that we acquired Key Insurance as at March 31st, 2020. I was appointed the chairman, which I take very seriously. And Key Insurance has in fact been performing well relative to our targets, and we are quite happy with that. This is one of our innovations, and you'll see the picture there. GK1 Digital. Without much promotion, it has been doing exceptionally well. It is located at our corporate headquarters here, Harbour Street, and I'd invite all of you on the call to have a visit. Really, really good innovation. We also signed a distribution agreement with Nestle, international company Nestle. And remember, as part of the GraceKennedy vision, we clearly stated as a global consumer group, one of the definitions or one of the aspects of a global consumer group is to leverage our relationship with international partners. And you would note that this is one additional strategy that we have executed on, thanks to Frank James, Renee, and Ratliff Walker on this initiative. And you would see that we are now packaging the powdered milk for Nestle. And we continue to look for opportunities in this regard. I announced that on October 1st that we formed a mergers and acquisition unit. The mergers and acquisition unit is going to be a key strategic driver for sustainable growth and innovation in the GraceKennedy Group, and that is headed by Andrew Learaini. I just went through the deal discussions with him, and without saying too much, we are actively working on 12 transactions, and I feel very positive that that we will be executing on some mergers and acquisition. And let me add these acquisitions are not only in Jamaica, but outside of Jamaica that we're looking at. And it is also across the segments in the GraceKennedy Group, Food Division, and Financial Services Division. So that is something that we can look forward to for the rest of the year and into 2021. In terms of GK1, I may just mention also that that we're looking at creating a second GK1 digital cashless. And we're looking at UWI, University of West Indies, to put the second one. I think the students will appreciate that. Where there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. Money services, remittances, as we refer to it broadly in Jamaica. This is a great story. I mean, we were below when the crisis started. Remittances in Jamaica was, I think, like 13 to 15% behind. And we doubled down with our partners, Western Union, the team that we have, Hazel Mirage and Garfield in New York and Florida, and the local team here, Grace Burnett and Margaret, and really focused on how are we going to use our systems as a competitive advantage. And we really promoted our digital transactions, and it speaks for itself. You'll see that the chart is showing that we have a 400%, yeah, that's right, colleagues, a 400% increase in our digital transactions relative to 2019. So COVID-19 really accelerated and made us focus on our digital transactions. And we had a 220% increase in the number of customers registered digitally. And I want to congratulate again the team for that excellent performance. I think from May, we have been showing double-digit growth in remittances. And I want to use this opportunity again to thank our Jamaican diaspora, wherever you are in the world, USA, Canada, UK, wherever you are. I know it's a difficult time for all of you, but with a true Jamaican spirit, we never forget our family and friends at home. And I think this shows the resilience of a true Jamaican. Thank you, my colleagues in the diaspora that are on the line. You know how important remittance is to your family and friends in Jamaica. Our insurance division showed strong growth. Underwriting division, driven by GK Insurance as well as Key. And our new company, our health insurance company, Canopy, led by Sean Scott and in partnership with PB Scott and Musson. I'm so happy with that company. We are performing way above expectations, and the future of Canopy looks bright. And what is very pleasing for me, Andrew, is that the feedback that I've been getting from the customers is really fantastic in terms of the level of service that we have been providing, and that augurs well for the future. Banking and investment, you would see that we have a small revenue growth. We have been very aggressive in terms of loan provisioning for FGB in this economy. We have to be very careful. So we have provided very prudently for FGB. One of the things that you'd note in that division, in the segment reporting, is slightly down. And that is a direct impact of the reduction in the values on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, which I think is about 25%. In other words, GK Capital, as part of our business, we have an equity portfolio, and that portfolio is down because the market is down. However, I feel very strongly that you'll see a turnaround of the equity position on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and hopefully we'll see a rebound in terms of our portfolio at GK Capital. But the operating profits remain very strong. In terms of GK Foods, again, strong growth. What I'm very happy about, I've been reporting for the last probably about 2 years about nourishment and the challenges that we have been facing with nourishment. And you'd see the pick of nourishment on the side. There, nourishment, we are seeing a rebound of nourishment, and nourishment is actually, for this year, is growing at 9% over 2019 and slightly above our expectations. So we are really happy about that. If we were to single out MVP, most valuable player, everybody is valuable, but I must say, colleagues, that our business in the USA has performed above expectations. And when I say significantly, in bold and in capital, it is unbelievable, both in profits, gross margins, and revenue. Our performance, well, I'll share with you. Andrew might kick me under the table for revealing too much, but it's about 5 times what we budgeted for that we are making in terms of USA LLC. And people call and say, Don, you have broken the code. That's not really, but the truth is that we have benefited from COVID-19 in the USA market significantly. And we may argue the UK and Canada and even domestically. But what is happening based on our own research is that people, because the restaurants have been closed, they are now eating at home and cooking. And of course, as Caribbean people, the Grace brand and the Lafayette brand, in terms of Hispanic, I must say, is the preferred brand. Added to that, our patties is growing by over 118% in the USA market, in Walmart, Publix, and all of the major chains. So MVP, Grace Foods USA LLC, performing exceptionally well. And by all indications, they're going to have a strong finish for 2020, and 2021 is also expected to be good. Congratulations to the team, Andrea Coy, Derek Record, and all of the LLC team. Again, I have monthly meetings with them, and they are really motivated to do well, and I'm so very proud of them in terms of the performance of LLC. Domestic Foods, which is, the heartbeat of Grace, doing well, significant growth. I never see so much Vienna sell in my life like that, Andrew, trust me. Doing very well, and Frank and Tamara, Renee, Magian, and everybody, and my manufacturing team doing an excellent job. One area that we got hit in was food service. As you know, the tourism hotel sector is down. Occupancy level is a fraction of where it should be. So our business, what we describe as food services, is really sales to the hotels is significantly down. We're hoping, and based on what I've been reading, that there could be some rebound in the tourism industry going into 2021, and that should impact our business. I couldn't not finish my presentation or not have a presentation to the investors without speaking about digital transformation. And as you probably have read, I have appointed Stephen Whittingham to head this unit. And Stephen is so excited and gung-ho to do a good job with this one. But, as you see there, we have engaged McKinsey, who is one of the world's leading consultants. And the gentleman in his first meeting with me, when we're exploring the opportunities about digital transformation, he said to me, Don, let me tell you something. 3-4 years ago, CEOs around the world would use digital transformation as a nice to have or competitive advantage to have. He said, Don, let me tell you something. Because of COVID-19 and the new norm in this world, a digital transformation is going to be for the survival of companies, regardless of which industry that you are in. And that resonated with me. When you speak about survival, I think about opportunities also. So we have engaged McKinsey to support us through this digital transformation. We have three strategic pillars that we are going to be focusing on: improve customer experiences, digitizing for operational efficiency, and of course, a digital-first culture, change management. A lot of people think digital as an interface between your consumer and your company. But if you really execute on a digital transformation, it's going to significantly improve on your operational efficiency. So we would expect that in terms of our cost ratios and cost reduction, we're going to see the benefits of that. So the next big target for us, we're going to create a digital factory, GK Digital Factory, which Stephen will be responsible for, and we're going to be delivering digital solutions in 2021. I think this is one of the most exciting projects that we have on the table for the GraceKennedy Group, and we are going to be very focused on this one here. We think it's a game changer, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from Stephen and myself in the near future about this transformation. I never finish my presentations without speaking about GK and the community. I call it #WeCare for those of you on social media. It's always good for a CEO to present to your shareholders and your investors about the level of profitability, the 50% increase in revenue, in profits, and 12% and 9 billion increase in revenue. But as the CEO for this company here, there's nothing that gives me more pleasure to share with all of you on the line what we have been doing, #WeCare. We awarded scholarships, the GK Foundation, of 21.5 million to 92 university students for the academic year. So we are giving the opportunity for 92 Jamaicans to do better by awarding scholarships. And I'm sure you have heard me say that, in my opinion, in Jamaica, education should not be a privilege, it should be a right. And if GraceKennedy can play a role in that regard, we are going to. We are going to. GK Foods, I was on a call with the guild probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're talking about the challenges of the students at the University of West Indies. And by the way, I'm a double graduate from the University of West Indies, and I'm proud to say that I didn't have to go overseas to get my education. I got my education right here at the University of West Indies, and everywhere I go in the world, I say that. And he said to me, he called me Senator, Mr. Webby, he said that there are university students that are hungry, and they can't do their work properly because they are hungry. And I tell you something, colleagues, my heart sunk. I immediately said to Caroline Mafood, the head of our foundation, let us ramp up, let us step up on the GK food bank at the universities. And we are going to be trying our best to deliver food packages. As you see, we did 7.5 million. And that's, I can tell you straight up, that's not enough. That is not enough. And that is going to be a big focus for us. And of course, food items across all communities. The latest one that we are doing, I think, is Raytown through Tankita and others. There's a lot of talk in Jamaica, and we are seeing it here, not only for our staff, and it's commonly referred to now as the digital divide or the technological gap. And boy, I can tell you, we donated 5 million for the last quarter to purchase 200 tablets and for students and teachers, because believe it or not, some of the teachers don't have the adequate technology and equipment to teach properly. Colleagues, when I got the feedback from a lot of people. The gratitude, I said gratitude is a must. I said to my team that we have to do an additional $5 million. You don't want any child falling behind because of the lack of a computer or a laptop. And I see Favour Williams, the new Minister of Education, has hit the road running in terms of getting support. And I can tell you, we are going to be there as best as possible to ensure every child has the opportunity and the tools to get a good education. We can't afford for Jamaica to fall behind at this stage. So colleagues, I wanted to share with you the week here at GraceKennedy. We mean it. It's in our heart, it's in our DNA. And I can say to you that we're going to continue to double down. So while we're making profits and increased revenues, we are using those, or some of those, to support our communities. And it's not only in Jamaica. The team in the USA and UK and Canada, they are doing great service. I saw a note from Derek Rucker that he actually supplied a hospital in New York or New Jersey with food stuff. So team, keep up the good work. We care. That is going to be the game changer for the GraceKennedy group of companies. So in closing my presentation, I want to really thank and take this opportunity to thank all our shareholders for their continued support and trust in our mission to realize our vision of becoming a global consumer group, guided always by our core principles of honesty, integrity, and trust. We care, GraceKennedy, we care. I'm now going to hand over to Andrew Mesado before we open up for questions. Thank you very much, everyone, and thanks again for taking the time to listen to my presentation.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And I will briefly speak to the results for 9 months. Just give you some key highlights. So the first thing we want to point out is that there are lots of positives coming out of our results for the third quarter. Firstly, our revenue at $86.1 billion is up 11.8%. That's a $9 billion increase over last year. Of this amount, over half of it is actually attributed to the food division, who have done very well in this time. And I'll get into that a little bit more when I speak about the segment results. And then our profit before other income. This is a good indicator of your operating performance before the kind of non-operating activities. And that is up 77.8% over last year at $5.1 billion. Significant increase, which is over $2 billion increase over the prior year. And then our net profit after tax is up by 32.9% to $4.9 billion, an increase of $1.2 billion. And what you, as previously mentioned by Don, there is a provision in that line for a tax provision for our subsidiary in Guyana. The background to this is that an assessment was raised in terms of how taxes are charged on that company. In the first instance, we were successful in defending our position. At the full court level, that decision was reversed. However, we are in the process of filing an appeal. We have strengthened our legal team by adding a well-respected and well-known regional expert in the field, Dr. Claude Denbo, and they are very confident, our legal team is very confident that we have a strong case that we can defend our position. Nonetheless, we have made a provision and use that in note 4 to our third quarter results. And then what you would see is that our asset base has grown significantly by over $13 billion to 167 billion. And this is driven primarily by the improvements in our cash position. So you'll see cash and deposits growing by over $8 billion. And this is indicated through our cash flow statement. We have been very careful during this period to maintain our liquidity because as you know, in order for us to buy the goods to supply our customers, we have to have the cash to procure those products. And so you'll see that the cash flow has actually shown an increase of just under $8 billion, $7.9 billion. And this is coming from most of our companies. We are remaining liquid, and we have converted those profits into cash. And then our equity position has also improved by 8%. And this is flowing from the profits that we have earned for the period. And coming out of that, both based on our profits as well as our strong liquidity position, the company has declared a fourth interim dividend payment of 55 cents per share, and this is going to be paid on the 15th of December. This is an increase over the 40 cents per share that we paid in September, and the total is going to be just approximately $545 million in dividend payments for the fourth quarter. So we are sharing this profit, part of this profit, with our shareholders through an increase in our dividends for the last quarter. I would now just touch on the segment results. So firstly, in terms of revenue, as Donald mentioned, all our business segments have shown improved revenue for the 9-month period. And this increase has come primarily from our food trading segment. It's up by 11%, at over $6 billion increase. And what we're seeing also is that the improvement is coming from across the board in all our food companies. So domestically, in Jamaica, we're seeing improvements in our distribution companies as well as retail for supermarket chain, Hilo. And then overseas, all of our international food companies are showing improved revenue. This is led by our company in USA, where both the Lafay and Grace brands have increased. And we've launched new products and seen growth in those new products. Also, in the UK and Canada, we're seeing growth, as well as in the Caribbean. So strong growth on the food side. For money services, as we spoke about earlier, there has been improvement in digital transactions and customers who are digitally doing business with us. And so coming from that, we're seeing improvements in transaction volumes, and the revenue for money services is up 12% for the 9-month period. GK Money Services in Jamaica is also celebrating their 30th anniversary this year, and November is a month that is actually the birth month for them, and so the company is remaining strong since their inception 30 years ago. In insurance, we are seeing improvements in organic growth, as well as the growth in revenue coming from the acquisition of Key Insurance. And then on the banking and investment side, modest growth, but we still continue to see growth in the loan portfolio. Since the start of the year, First Global Bank's loan portfolio has grown by over $1 billion. And so we still continue to see growth in the banking side. But of course, that growth is tempered by the level of uncertainty that exists in the economy now. Then I want to speak to the profits by segment. And what we see here is that 3 of our 4 business segments are showing improved profits. So firstly, money services is showing a 28% increase. And this is really the profits flowing to the revenue flowing to the bottom line. and we see improved profits in our money services, in particular driven by our businesses in Jamaica as well as in Ghana. Those are the high growth countries for remittances in our group. On the insurance side, again, we're seeing good performance from an operating perspective. So the growth in the revenue for insurance continues to come and flow to the bottom line. We're also seeing that since acquisition, Key Insurance is returning profits and improved performance. And so that has also improved that division. And in addition to that, our new health insurance company, Canopy, now that they are in full operations and have been adding new customers, we are seeing improvements in the performance there. On the banking and investment side, the reduction in profits really coming from two main areas. One is that we've booked additional impairment provisions for loans, and this is really because of the uncertainty that exists, and in an effort to be cautious and have good credit prudency by booking up provisions for credit losses. And in addition, as Don would have mentioned earlier, we have our investment portfolio equities that are showing reductions in the value because of the performance on the stock exchange. In Jamaica, the stock exchange is down by around 25% since the start of the year, and this will be reflected in some of the stocks held in our fair value through P&L portfolio. On the food trading side, we see significant growth, and this is really a combination of improved revenue as well as improved gross margins. So that combination has really caused significant growth overall in the profit performance for food trading, which is up 86%. And from the graph, you will see that when you look at the gray bar for foods at 2.9 billion, it is almost on par with money services at 3 billion. And this really shows now that we are seeing better diversification of earnings across the group, so that segments are all contributing more to that, and food and our food trading, which is our core business from inception, is really doing exceptionally well. And those are the key highlights I'd like to bring to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Andrew. That was very, very comprehensive. And I think the last point that you made in terms of diversification of profits is something that we have been asked at a lot of AGMs, and we're seeing that the food division is performing exceptionally well domestically and internationally. All right, I have a few questions. I'm going to ask for some extra time to my technical colleagues here to try and get through as much of these questions as possible. Okay, first one, this is from Justin Burke. In 2019 annual report, it was said that the company is expanding into the western provinces in Canada. Any updated on the expansion? Good question, Justin, and I can see you're a detailed man reading the annual report. Yes, we have been making progress in terms of expanding our distribution network and route to market footprint there. But I think more importantly, Justin, is that we have actually at the last Canada board meeting agreed that in terms of growth, that we should look at a possible acquisition in the western provinces, and the board was fully supportive of that initiative. And in fact, I'll share with you that we have appointed an investment banking company to try and identify potential acquisition targets for us in the western provinces. And Andrew Riney actually is in discussion with one as we speak. So yes, expanding in the western provinces is a very important strategic driver for the GraceKennedy Group. Our Canadian business is doing exceptionally well, and we believe that this will enhance our profitability and growth for in that country. Thanks a lot for that question, and I'm sure for our next briefing we'll be able to give you a better update in terms of where exactly we are. From David Rose, and as you know, David is a man that asks a lot of detailed and good questions. David, how are you, the boss? Okay, let me see if I can read this handwriting. Could you comment on the key turnaround strategy and the sale of Knutsford parking lot? Okay, a couple of things with that. David, you would recognize that Key is a publicly listed company. So I have to be careful in terms of how I answer that question. I know the third quarter results were released, and you can see that the company is actually performing significantly better than it did in the past. And tomorrow, Graves Husey and Steve Whittingham, those guys are really doing a good job. So Key in terms of strategy, as you have asked, there are 4 strategic initiatives that we use as a template for the GraceKennedy Group. Sustainable growth and innovation. So the first thing, obviously, that we're going to be looking at is how do we expand the services of Key by the digital platform on the digital transformation. And I know Tamara and her team, they are far advanced in terms of digital offering. We have been very innovative, I must say, in some of the products that we are offering. At the AGM, I shared and pointed out to the shareholders cyber insurance that we are going to be pushing, especially in these times. The second thing is consumer centricity. Key is going to be so focused on offering first-class service in terms of customer satisfaction that we believe that that is going to drive growth. And we're going to be doing ongoing customer surveys to ensure that we can deliver the best possible service. As the saying goes, a complaint from a customer is a gift. It's a gift that when you get it, you can open it and see how to deal with it. The third thing is internal processes. So we are actually looking at, obviously, our risk management profile. How do we best package your reinsurance along with GKI so the efficiency of the company will benefit and flow to the bottom line. And the most important one, David, is a performance-driven culture, accountability and execution. We have to ensure that our staff at Key is fully motivated, fully engaged to deliver on the mission and vision of the company along the GraceKennedy values. Knutsford parking lot, we did announce that we were divesting. It was advertised, you asked about the process. It was advertised in the newspapers for a bid. The audit committee, which makes up the independent directors, chaired by Linval Freeman, a retired partner from Ernst & Young, is chairing that committee. And I believe that a recommendation will be made or has been made to the board. Will be made shortly. So I'll get back to you on that one there. But the process was that it was advertised. Linval Freeman, the audit committee chair, I know he's doing his review, and I'll get back to you in terms of timing. Any progress on the rights issue with regulators? When can it be expected? I'd said at the AGM, David, and I think you asked the question of timing. We had targeted by the end of this year. When the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, I would think by the latest, the first quarter of 2021. The prepaid card, you have asked about the prepaid card. Yes, we have made significant progress. Mariam and Stephen would like to speak about the sandbox. You can expect an announcement, I would say, within a few weeks, if not before, of our new prepaid card. And I'll give you a hint. Shelley and Fraser Price, our brand ambassador, is the face on the new card. has gone through internal testing, and it will be launched very shortly. I wish I could answer all the questions here, but let me try and give somebody else a chance, David. But we will answer them online, certainly before the end of the week. Andrew, cash flow, positive generation of cash. Somebody's asking, can you share this, in quotation, the secret of the improved cash for GraceKennedy?
Okay, thanks for that question. So one of the key things is you have to look at your collections. You have to manage it carefully through your credit department, and therefore we have been very careful in ensuring that we follow up with customers, and those customers who are having difficulties, we have made various offers in terms of extending credit to them where necessary. But also we have made certain that we are doing our collections on a timely basis, looking at the outstanding days to make sure that we are bringing in the cash. It's something that we have to be very careful during this period of time, especially in order so that we can pay our suppliers. So we've really done a good job in terms of converting those profits that you see, that 51.5% increase in pre-tax profits. We have been able to convert that into cash, and we've kept those funds short where necessary, so that our liquidity is maintained. So at this time, we're not doing any very long placements that could tie up our cash.
Okay, thanks. Anthony Dunn asked a few questions. Let me see how much I can cover very quickly. Good afternoon, Anthony. Global Consumer Group, basically asking how are we doing against that definition. So Anthony, so a Global Consumer Group we have defined as 60% of our revenue outside of Jamaica. We're currently tracking at about 46, 47% for 2020. So there's some amount of work to be done. But I want to emphasize, Anthony, that what we are saying is that the momentum in the US, Canada, and UK market is doing very well. But we continue to expect the domestic market, the Jamaican market, to grow. So while we are targeting 60% of our revenue for the overseas market, we expect the domestic market to continue to grow. It's just that because of the size of the overseas market, we expect it to grow faster than the domestic market. 50% of our profits, the other metric, we're doing at 44, 45%. So we believe we're on the right track in terms of the profitability to hit that target. The third lever is to leverage our relationships with our international partners. That is Western Union, who represent in 11 countries. We expect that in the medium term, we're going to be expanding in other countries based on discussions with Western Union. You know that we represent P&G, Procter & Gamble. It can be argued that's one of the best marketing companies in the world. And then the Nestle transaction in terms of producing for Nestle. And somebody asked another question. Let me just try and find it as I am on that. The production of Nestle actually started already. It started in March of this year. And we're expected to generate somewhere around 20 million additional revenue from that. And I know Ratif Walker and his team and the marketing team are very focused in terms of delivering on that. So Anthony, to answer your question about the Global Consumer Group, I'd say we're on track. Work to be done. We're very focused in terms of delivering on the revenue, profit, and leveraging our relationship with international partners. So I feel very positive that we'll be able to track that very closely. Anthony Dunn again. NASDAQ. Anthony is actually a past employee of GraceKennedy, and we've been speaking about this for a long time. NASDAQ, the truth is, Anthony, that while we have investment bankers in New York looking at the opportunity of listing GraceKennedy on an international stock exchange. With COVID-19 with us here now, the truth is, I must be honest with you, I have not placed that on the priority list, and you know what is happening in international markets at this time. But I can assure you that is not off the agenda, and I'm sure at the appropriate time we will again prioritize listing GraceKennedy on an international market. I must say the initial feedback from the investment bankers, and especially the Jamaican diaspora and the Caribbean diaspora by and large, was very positive in terms of GraceKennedy being listed on an overseas market. Okay. Asking about our return on equity, Andrew. Our return on equity is about 10%. This is Karina Bennett from the Observer or the Gleaner. And how are we going to raise our ROE? You can start.
Thanks. So yes, in terms of return on equity, it's a key metric that we look at for improvement. And we have started, as you can see, this year has shown improved profits, and our ROE is improving based on those improved profits. And so it's a continued focus on growing our revenues profitably. In particular, as we looked at our vision in terms of increasing our profits and revenues from overseas markets, we see that as a key driver. Internally, in terms of our operations, one of the things we do look at is our operational efficiency. And since 2018, we have looked at improvements in our cost management, and we continue to see that improving. So last year, we moved to a new distribution warehouse in New Jersey, and that this coming out of that move in the middle of last year, we saw significant improvements in our operating efficiency, and those benefits have come through in this year. And we continue to look for improved efficiencies in our factories, looking at improving the utilization of the capacity at our factories, and that will improve the absorption of costs. So it's really looking at growing the top line and also ensuring that our margins are strong and that we are improving in cost management.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Karina, I can't add much to that, but to improve your ROE, the first thing that you need to do is to generate more profits, and that's where Andrew is being very detailed on. Having generated the profits and converted it to cash, what you need to do is to ensure that you allocate that cash to investments that are above your current ROE. And that is a straight guideline in terms of our M&A targets that we're looking at, is to try and acquire companies that are accretive and that would give us a strong return on equity. And that is why we have said in terms of sustainable growth and innovation, and M&A strategy is going to be key. David Rose, I'm asking about the expectation for remittances for the Christmas. What I can say to you, David, is that October was good for us, and I believe, based on my discussions with my executives and Western Union, that there's no reason why we think that good performance from May will not continue for the rest of the year. So I'm expecting a good Christmas season for our remittance business. Ladies and gentlemen, I have taken up all of your time. There are a few questions that we have not answered. Andrew and Suzanne and others, we're going to be able to put them on the website with the answers, and we can let's try and do that by Friday the latest. So colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again thank you so much for joining us. I know we have gone over our time. I apologize, but we have, there's a lot of information to share. Some very, very good questions were asked. Thanks to all who asked those questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, this brings today's briefing to an end. Again, thank you for your time and your participation. As of tomorrow, a link of today's broadcast will be available on our corporate website, www.GraceKennedy.com. So you'll be able to see a replay there, that's what we call it, of the briefing, www.GraceKennedy.com. And if you have any additional questions, we'll be happy to answer them. Please submit them to gkinvestor@gkco.com. I want to say thanks again. We value your feedback on the streaming experience and any suggestions you may have to improve this experience, including the format of the investors briefing. Please share with us. We are always trying to improve in terms of our investors briefing for the benefit of our shareholders, our investors, in terms of true transparency. So let me finish by saying, colleagues, we're in a very challenging world with this pandemic. Wear your mask, wash your hands, and social distance. And please be safe. God bless all of you. God bless Jamaica, the greatest country in the world. Thank you very much.